So, hello everybody. Today I'm going to be doing some faction missions. It's a Sunday. Sundays are a day to relax and be lazy at home, I feel. So, we're going to be doing some missions that don't have other racers. We're going to be just driving, earning a little money, some reputation points, and just having fun with it more than anything. So, the first one I'm going to start out with is Winter is Coming. It is a checkpoint race and it is a dirt race. So, there are a lot of different vehicles in this game. A lot. And I don't really have too many opinions on what the best ones are. There are tons and tons of lists and opinions and debates all over the internet that you can find if you really want to get into that sort of thing and, figure out what people seem to come to a consensus on what is the best. Now, me, I have several dirt cars. I really like the way dirt cars look. I'm a big fan of rally racing. So I always find cars that you can kind of make into your own little rally car. This here is the Ford Focus RS. It's a pretty good car. It's decently fast. It controls well. It's very slidey, especially on the ice. And on dirt even, the Ford Focus can be a little bit of a hard to control car if you haven't driven it a lot. It's really not bad. I suggest just getting used to it a little bit, learning that you can slide your way into the turns. You don't have to necessarily slam on the brake and then try to make the turn going slow. The Ford Focus is used as an actual rally car in real life, so it's kind of designed for this sort of terrain. So, you get adjusted to the handling, learn how to make these turns, and I think it'll be a good car that serves you well. It's not one of the fastest by far. It's quick, but there are faster, definitely. The Ruf GT35 is definitely quicker. But you can do some good things with the Ford Focus. So today we're just going to be relaxing, doing some fun little races for a little while. I'll talk with you guys and tell you about the game. If you haven't played this game too much. The Crew is an open world, kind of MMO style racing game. That the entire map is based off the entirety of the United States. And there are a lot of cool different places that you can drive because of that. There's deserts and, snowy peaks such as this. There's open plains. There's cities. All kinds of different things. So, it's really fun. It's definitely a game I recommend to anybody who likes racers. It's not going to be a simulation game in terms of the way the cars handle. This isn't Gran Turismo or Dirt 4. Those games are great for people who want to play something with cars that's a little bit more oriented towards the real life feel. This is an arcade racer. It's kind of similar in the vein of the Need for Speed games, in that the cars definitely do not handle the same way they would in real life. You can make turns going at a ridiculous amount of speed, and in real life, you would just fly off the track and get very injured, I'm sure. But so far, this has been pretty good, making decent time. This icy track the ice does handle differently on different cars, I've noticed. So be wary of that when you're making a dirt vehicle, because some of them will handle really well on dirt, and then you get them on ice, and they will just not take well to it at all. They will hit walls, they won't be able to turn well. I almost hit a deer, but that's definitely something to keep an eye out for when you're, tuning your dirt vehicles, is be aware of the terrain that you're going to be racing in. Especially if you're like in a PvP lobby and you see that the race that was chosen is dirt or snow, you'll want to adjust your vehicle choice to go with that. So, fairly short race. We're already at the finish line. Made it in decent time. I still had about 20 seconds left to make it to the final checkpoint. And I recommend, early in the month to, if you want to buy a lot of different cars, the story missions are okay for the beginning of the game to go through, earn a little money, and you have to reach a certain level before you can join the factions to begin with. But once you can, I really recommend going to the faction missions and earning rep, getting a few levels, It will affect how much money you get on a daily basis, and you'll really want to do that, because if you reach a certain rank, you can get around like 70,000 a day, and that's really good, because if you don't have time to play the game a lot, you can't sit here all day and grind at vehicles and grind at money, then you can just kind of get on for a quick second, grab your bucks, and then get off. So next I'm going to be doing a dirt mission, not on the ice. So I'm going to switch over to the Ruf RT35. And we're going to be doing a mission called Vertigo, which I believe is somewhere in the mountain states. Ah, here it is. Alright. So this one is a little bit different from the one we just did. The icy one had a lot of railings on the side, so it was a little bit easier to avoid crashing the car off the cliff. Now this one, you don't quite have the same luxury. There's going to be a lot of areas where there's no railing, and it's going to be easy to fall off. So we're going to have to really want to take it a little bit carefully. Now the RT35, really good dirt car. It's incredibly fast. However, you do need to be very careful when you're rounding corners, because if you take them on too fast, the car has a tendency to slide really far out in whatever direction you are trying not to turn in. So you really want to be careful of that. If you can keep it under control, it's a really good dirt car. It's really fast. It accelerates like crazy. It has a good top speed. But it does take a little bit of practice. There are other dirt cars that handle a little bit better, such as the Skyline, and it's reasonably fast. It's a good practice car, and a solid car for dirt tracks, definitely. But I choose the RT35 just because once you get it under control, once you learn how to make these corners, you can really just put the pedal to the metal and make good time. Now, I've gone through this particular track without nitrous, with several different vehicles, and the fastest time I ever made was about 2 seconds faster than the slowest, and it was with the RT35. So it's definitely the quickest car I could find, for me personally. Now, as any racing game, you should find a car you're comfortable with, for sure. You shouldn't always go by what other people say is, oh, this is the fastest, this is the best car for this. You know, racing cars, they should always be the one you want to drive. And I've always felt that way with a lot of racing games. You know, sometimes a car may not be the best, but if it's what you like, or say if it's a car you would want in real life, then definitely you should use it. You know, you can be good with any car in any racing game. It just takes practice. You might want to adjust the tuning of the vehicle, you know, mess with the settings a little bit, but any car can be a really good car. Now, I'm sure you'll notice that back there I kind of had some trouble about to go off the cliff. I kind of took some of the corners a little too quickly, and that's the sort of thing that happens in this car. If you don't slow down when you really should, then the car will just continue to slide and push itself, and you will end up on the edge of a cliff. Definitely be careful around some of these corners. Like back there, you'll notice I jumped over a little bump because I went a little bit too far off to the side of the dirt. And those can really mess you up, because when you're in the air, you have absolutely no traction and no control over the car's direction. And on a course like this, that already has tight cornering and is up high on the edges of these cliffs, you really don't want that to happen. You really always want to be grounded and have as much control over the vehicle as you can possibly maintain. Now, the thing about these missions that I'm doing, they won't necessarily net you a lot of reputation points. The money will add up decently. In my opinion, it's still not the best comparatively to other faction missions. But they're okay if you want to earn a little bit of money, you know, in a decent time. Especially if you just like driving your dirt cars and having a little fun with them. It's good for that. It's good practice. These are good races to practice with if you plan on, you know, really doing PvP missions, or if you want to just go up against some of the tougher missions in the game that are on dirt tracks. You'll get a feel for your car. You don't have to worry about other drivers getting in your way. You can really just see how the car handles and how it feels. So next thing we're going to do is I'm going to actually jump over to a circuit race. And this is one that is recommended by a lot of people if you want to grind up money at a reasonably fast pace. It's not very long. You can get through it decently quick. And it's called the point of no return. So we're going to jump over to that real quick. It's going to automatically switch me over to a circuit vehicle. I have two that are max level. It's going to put me in the Ford Raptor. I also have the BMW M4 circuit car, which is also another good car. Now, the Ford Raptor, I feel, is kind of one of those underestimated circuit cars. It's definitely not a car you would look at and go, yes, that's something I want to race around on a track. But the Ford Raptor is a surprisingly well-made circuit car. It's really fast. It doesn't really have much difference than some of the other vehicles. In fact, a lot of vehicles, once they're all maxed out, they all roughly have around the same top speed. Now, the acceleration might vary a little bit. The handling definitely will vary depending on the vehicle. But there's really no wrong choice in my opinion, other than finding something that handles comfortably. And if you're going for speed, all the cars in this game are pretty well balanced once they're maxed out. That's just how the game keeps it fair for the competitive play, for the PvP lobbies, and all that good stuff. Now, the thing I like about the Ford Raptor is it's very heavy, so it grips the road incredibly well, and it doesn't get very slidey, especially considering how quickly you're going to be going in a circuit car. In the street vehicles, I was lucky when I could get a straight and I could go around over 200 miles an hour, but in a circuit car like this, if you're not having to turn all the time, you're definitely going to be going upwards of around 240-ish like I am now. So you want a car that's going to be easy to control under these kind of speeds, and I feel like the Ford Raptor definitely meets the criteria on that. Now, because it is so heavy, it can have a little problems when you get into the sharper turns. But overall, in a circuit car, that's not going to be too big of a deal. There aren't as many tight technical courses as there are with, say, a street car, which is designed for, a lot of turning, a lot of stopping, and then accelerating. So, and on a race like this, especially this particular mission, where you're mostly just driving on a highway, there's not a lot of really sharp turns where you're going to need to slam on the brake and drop down to 60 miles an hour and make a 90-degree turn. You really just need something that's going to be stable and that can make, slight adjustments to get around the traffic, the light poles, and just to keep, a solid line so you can get as much speed as possible. Now we're about almost 3 minutes in, and we're almost to the finish line. So I also haven't been using my nitrous as much as I probably could have, but whoa! Right at the finish, huh? Still 17 seconds ahead of the other guy. But that is also another downside of the Ford Raptor. It's kind of big, so on courses where it's not just the vehicles themselves and there's traffic, it's a little easier to clip the side of a car. But minimal problems. 8,000 bucks in about 3 minutes. If I had used a little bit more nitrous, probably could have made it closer to about 245, 250. But a lot of people use this mission. They'll grind it up, a few times. You'll make 8,800 per go. So 24,000 every 9 minutes or so. Not too bad, not too shabby. So there aren't, unfortunately, a lot of more relaxed missions for the performance vehicles. A lot of them are races, or they're really long. The raid missions do have a few where it's just a checkpoint or a point A to B. This one, the Big D, this is actually a checkpoint race with a performance vehicle. I kind of forgot about this mission. So actually, I don't know if it's checkpoint or if it's A to B. We'll take a look and we'll see. Either way, it'll give me a chance to show you a performance vehicle, and we'll talk a little bit about those. It looks like it's going to switch me to the GT35, the Nissan GT35, which it's a good car. Now you do have to have the Calling All Units DLC to purchase this car, so if you don't have that, then just go ahead and put that one out of your mind unless you really want to get Calling All Units, which I do recommend. Calling All Units it's good DLC. It adds a lot of the transport missions, which are good for getting free vehicles and earning money, and we'll get to those a little bit later too. This is a pretty solid performance car. Now performance cars are kind of a middle ground between street and circuit. They're really fast, they can turn decently, but they definitely don't make the same kind of turns that a street vehicle would, and they won't reach the same sort of speeds that a circuit car will, of course. But they're pretty fun to drive. That guy, I just didn't like him. He was in my way, so we had to get rid of that. But I have a few performance cars that are pretty good, pretty fun to drive, pretty solid. Now this mission is just, it's a time mission, looks like A to B. I think I usually don't turn there. If I remember correctly, the route that I choose to take for this mission. So we're gonna be, well, actually, you know what? This takes me to a dead end, so I was wrong. But luckily this is right here, so we're gonna be going this way, going against the traffic, because why not? I mean, we got places to be, we don't have time to worry about following the rules of the road. Although I do recommend, if possible, staying with the flow of traffic. It just gives you a little bit more reaction time to what's coming up. You don't want to always have to worry about a car coming up out of nowhere, especially if you're going over a hill and just hitting you, crashing you, wasting your time. So we're going to be following the marker here. Felt like bowling with those water barrels back there. This is a pretty straightforward course from what I remember. I'm actually starting to remember this one. I've done this one. This is a good mission if you want to test out performance vehicles in terms of the handling. There's going to be a lot of different areas in this race where it's going to test the different parts of the tuning. You know, your top speed, your acceleration, the turning. It's mostly a lot of just straight driving as fast as possible. But it's definitely not a good mission to grind for money or for experience or reputation points, really. It kind of takes too long. We're already hitting 3 minutes, and I could have already had 8,800 from the previous one. And even the snow mission, winter is coming. I would already be just about finished with that one as well. So this is not a good faction mission for grinding up money. It's just sort of here, I guess. They just sort of put it in the game as something because they needed a filler mission, I suppose. Like I said, it can have its uses if you want to buy a performance vehicle, test it out, level it up, see how it does. You can definitely drive this course with a couple of different performance vehicles and compare times and see how they did. Sometimes you'll get rain in this mission, which will, of course, affect the handling of the vehicle. Not too bad. The rain in this game doesn't really seem to make or break the handling. It just sort of adds a little bit more to how it turns and also when you brake. Now that right there was just me kind of trying to avoid the traffic, turning a little bit too hard and almost losing control of the vehicle, but luckily we got her back under our control. And I have no idea what that person was doing because they just pulled up to that barrel there where they were doing construction and completely stopped almost. So probably not the best choice. right here is where you're going to start to see a little bit more of where the necessity for braking, so you can test out different vehicles to see how they handle in the corners, things like that. Now there doesn't seem to be too many performance vehicles in this game that aren't, to some degree, a little bulky. I know there are certain vehicles that can be performance cars that are a little bit smaller, such as the Mazda MX-5 and the Mini Cooper, and I believe the Subaru BRZ can also be a performance vehicle, but I'm not 100% sure on that. But you'll find some of the others, they tend to be a little wide. The Nissan GT35 is fairly wide shaped. Certain cars like the Lamborghinis, the Aventadors, the Huracan, the Pagani, such as the Zonda, the Huayra, they're all kind of a little bit wider than smaller street vehicles. So with performance vehicles, you're definitely going to need to be a little bit more cautious around traffic, just to make sure that if you get to a section where the traffic is kind of lane to lane, that you can fit in between or go around if you need to. Now we had 15 minutes when we started this race, and we're about down to 8.5. So I definitely don't think, this is definitely starting to prove that this is not a good race to grind money, especially for how little it pays. It actually surprises me, to be honest with you. The very first time I did this mission, I didn't actually really look at the amount of money it earned. I just saw that it was a, A to B race with no other racers, and I thought, oh, that could be fun. Get a chance to drive your performance vehicle, just kind of go for it. You don't have to worry about the other racers or rubber banding AI. You just kind of pick, wow, what is happening to me? This is kind of a weird race. This route, I actually forgot, this part of the route takes you to a section where you're going to be completely against the traffic, and you have really no choice. Now, I don't know if there's other routes that go around this, because I haven't really done this one enough to experiment with all the different routes, but yeah, there's hills here, and going over them are incredibly dangerous. But this route that I'm on, unfortunately, will take me against traffic. And honestly, these cars would be easier to see at night, just because I could actually see their headlights. During the day, not quite so lucky. I'm just gonna have to sort of pay attention and take a wild guess, and that was really close. This would be a fun mission to do with a friend. You could both drive down the highway against the traffic, play a little bit of chicken, see who can make it without getting into a wreck. But I believe we're coming up to the end. Finally, yeah, we're about 0.70 miles away. Which, like I said, this is not a good mission for how long it takes to earn money. The very first time I did it, I didn't really look at the bucks, and I thought, oh, it's pretty long. So maybe you get like 16,000 or 22,000, somewhere around that, in that vein, and I was completely wrong. It took us about 9 minutes, almost 9 minutes to get to the finish line, and I'm only going to get 8,800 bucks for that. So not a good mission for this sort of thing at all. Definitely not. So we'll take a look. 8 minutes, 17 seconds. Pretty clean driving, but the same amount of reputation in bucks as the other missions, which took almost a third of the time. So, interesting race. It's fun. Maybe if you did it with a crew member too, it could be a little bit more interesting. Everybody racing to get to the end. But as a solo mission to try to grind up money, it's definitely not the best. Now we're going to go ahead and do one more for the day, and we'll call it good. I was thinking actually we could do one raid mission would be nice, just to kind of get it in there. We could do this one. It doesn't pay a lot, and it doesn't give a lot of rep, mostly because it's really short, and that's not a bad thing. But we're actually going to go ahead and do this checkpoint right here, Dave Z. And it's going to switch me over to the, looks like the Ruf 3500K. Which, this game, again, has a lot of cars, so raid vehicles, you have your choices, for sure. You know, you don't have to pick whatever other people say is best, or find one specific. You can use different ones. I have several. I have the Hummer, I have the Ruf, I have the Volkswagen Touareg. There's definitely plenty to go around. So this one, I actually haven't done this one in a long time, so this could be pretty fun, pretty interesting. I've always liked Raid. It's very off-road, of course, and you never know what's going to happen. Like this, I'm just going to go ahead and take this gigantic jump. Now, the interesting thing about raid cars is most raid cars are not that fast. You're not going to be hitting speeds that are just crazy, definitely, especially when you're in this kind of terrain. The differences that I find, if you discount the speed differences, the biggest difference I find when it comes to raid vehicles is how they handle jumps, because you'll be going through a lot of ups and downs and bumps when you're in a raid vehicle, of course. And some of them don't take those kind of things very well. Now, this car is fast, definitely a little bit faster than some of the other ones. It does not have the best downforce, and it does not take these jumps all that great. It's okay. It's kind of in the middle, I would say, for other vehicles. So it is a pretty balanced car, but it definitely will not handle them as well as like the Hummer or even like the Jeep Wrangler. And I have always hated these rocks in this game. But hey, it happens. That was pretty cool. Tried to do a 360 no scope, didn't quite happen. But you'll notice when I hit some of these that the front end of the car tends to stay up, the nose stays up a little bit higher, doesn't come back down, so it takes this car a lot longer for it to regain control of the traction. And when you're going over all these dips, it's not a good thing. Still a really solid choice for a raid car, I would say, though. If you're looking for something that is pretty balanced, and you think you want something that's decently fast, since raid cars, that's not their biggest strength. Definitely, this is a good car for that. Now, we're actually almost to the finish line. We just got to get around these trees. Let's go ahead and boost and, see what happens. We'll crash into this guy's front yard. Come pay him a visit. And let's see what we'll get for this one. This is a max out car. We'll get a purple color. Probably won't use it on this vehicle, but it's there. And we're done. There we go. So, I hope you guys had fun. I hope you had a good time. We got to go through some pretty chill missions, just kind of relax and see what the game has to offer for races that aren't going to be full of AI that's rubber banding and catching up to us every 2 seconds. Sometimes that's fun, it's a good challenge, but other days you kind of just want to chill. And this is my Hummer, my zombie Hummer, because of course if you're going to be in a zombie apocalypse, you probably should drive a Hummer. Gas might be your problem, but the zombies will definitely not be. So thanks for joining me, guys. Hope you had a good time. Please like and comment, and let me know if there's anything else you'd like to see, if there's any particular cars, if you've played this game that you want me to drive and you want to see me test out, if you want to know how they handle or how they feel. I tend to max out a lot of cars before I go driving on different races, and then I compare and see how they are. So just let me know. And I hope you guys have an awesome Sunday. Get some rest. It's going to be a good week. It's summertime. Hope you have some fun. And I will see you later.